Welcome to your Pisces horoscopes for the week of the 7th through the 13th of April. And well, we got a lot going on still. We still have focuses on long-term goals. We still have Mars energy influencing those long-term goals. So lots of energy going into those long-term goals. We also continue to have the influences of Neptune as well as Saturn. Neptune is very close to the edge of leaving, extremely close, but it's about to go retrograde here pretty soon. So it's not going to be leaving Pisces quite yet, and definitely not happening this year, but it looks pretty darn close. We're going to continue with that intuitive influence in your sign for a little while longer for sure. And what's interesting is that when it comes to long-term goals, your intuition really does play a huge part in it. Unfortunately, we do not give it the proper attention. We do not give it the proper focus, and we don't give it the proper trust. If we were giving it the proper trust, we would allow it to guide us. And 9 times out of 10, we second guess it and we don't. And we wind up regretting it later on. Mars energy, Mars and Saturn are in a sextile with Jupiter pretty much all week long. So Jupiter is really focused on support and growing your support for those long-term goals. And what's really important to remember and think about here is the fact that your support system for your goals should really be geared toward your goals. So for example, if you are looking at long-term financial goals, if you are looking at, I want to have such and such amount of money to put a down payment on the house in the next 5 years, you don't want Uncle so-and-so who's not good at managing their money helping you with that, because you're not going to be successful with help that's not helpful. But instead, if you go to, say the bank, for example, and you talk to, about a savings account and, specific savings accounts that have higher interest rates and things like that, you stand a better chance of actually achieving that goal. So it's really important that you have the specific support that you need in order to achieve those goals. And Jupiter's influence is helping you expand on that all week long, which is really nice. Now, we also have some other interesting stuff going on. Of course, we're still in the Mercury retrograde in Aries. Luckily, no planets interacting with that because you're a bit too close, being that it's the very next sign over. But it still can be felt. The influence can be felt by everybody. And we're in the second week of this Mercury retrograde. So we're hitting that halfway point, which means we're at the hump. It's downhill from here, hopefully, in theory, right? It could be great today and a hot mess tomorrow. That's just kind of how Mercury retrograde is. But it's in Aries, and Aries does tend to have a very aggressive energy. So we're really looking at miscommunications that make people angry, and that's not necessarily something that you want to deal with, especially when you're so uber focused on um, your own goals and your own success. But that's actually a very popular story. People all the time. I hear it all the time. I've heard it from my own mouth before, also, but I really hear this from people all the time. I could have done this had it not been for this person and whatever this person did. And really what we're doing is we're not accepting responsibility, okay? Because if we were that focused on achieving our goals, we would not let this person get in the way. So what we're actually doing is looking for an excuse, and we find somebody that kind of sort of wanders in and bam, causes a problem, and boom, you have your excuse. Now, in many cases, that's not true. I do happen to know a very good friend of mine who's a Pisces who's taking care of his parents right now. And I mean, obviously, they would not and be in that situation on purpose just to spite him and get in the way of his goals, right? That's a little bit of a different situation. After that, though, when you have, say, free time in that, or even afterwards, when you're not taking care of the parents anymore, it's important what you do with the time that you do have, even if you do have responsibilities that are getting in the way of what you want to do, if that makes sense. It's not impossible. You just can't put as much time and effort into it. So we all have downtime to a certain extent. It's about what we do with our downtime that's really important. We also have a solar eclipse this week on Monday, about 12:30 Central Time, for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. If you are within the southeastern states, so from Texas pretty much all the way through parts of Mexico even, then you have the best view of this solar eclipse that's taking place. It's a full solar eclipse, so you get the whole shebang. If you are outside of that area in the United States, you might see bits and pieces of it. Chances are in other parts of the world, you're not going to see anything, but you don't have to see it in order to feel it. And it's a solar eclipse on a new moon. New moon is a great time to start new projects. And an eclipse energy like that is a really good energy to go into new ventures, especially because it is in Aries, and Aries is the sign of rebirth and new beginnings. So, taking that time to manifest something awesome for yourself, or really focusing your energy on working on those long-term goals during that time, is a great way to utilize that energy. It just adds a little extra element of magic that becomes extremely helpful to the whole process. So that's what I have for you guys this week. If you love your horoscopes, do consider sending a tip or donation through my Ko-fi link in the description. Really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. I'm Melissa Bruce, Heavy Metal Psychic. I will see you guys next week. And in the meantime, you guys make it a great week. And I'll see you next week.